Our next speaker has had a hugely successful Marine Corps career. He served 8 months as a sniper in the Gulf War, completed 2 combat deployments in Al Anbar province, and served as the NATO Regional Command Southwest Sergeant Major for Nimroz and Helmand Province, Afghanistan. In 2011, he was named the 17th Sergeant Major of the United States Marine Corps. He served in that position until his retirement from the Corps after 34 years in 2015. If you have ever heard him speak before, you would understand that his genteel, mild-mannered spirit is one that could have only been developed at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Paris Island, where he nurtured young Marine recruits, always with a tender hand. Fortunately for us, he brings the same passion and commitment to essential veterans issues. He is all in on our Be the One initiative to prevent veterans suicide. He co-authored the leadership anthology, Breaching the Summit, with 5 other senior enlisted leaders from the different military branches. He is also a member of American Legion Post 18 in Bloomington, Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, the 17th Sergeant Major of the United States Marine Corps, Micheal P. Barrett.
Right on your back.
Hey, how you doing?
I need to do an acoustics check. Everybody ready? On the count of 3, say hell yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hey, Washington, D.C. needs to hear you. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Good morning. Thank you for that. You just regenerated my battery. So last night, I had an opportunity to have dinner with our Spirit of Service Award recipients, and their backstories are exceptional. I hope you seek them out, share some time with them, because you all you provide decades upon decades of sage knowledge and experience that will serve them and then ultimately will serve you for the decades to come. I'm who you get when everybody else who is important is busy. So this is the 3rd time I have been given the privilege to speak at the American Legion's National Convention, and every single opportunity to share time with my brothers and my sisters in arms is always a true blessing. So, Commander and the leadership, always. Gentlemen, thank you. So, we just did an acoustics check, so you know the proper response to every question I'm about to ask you. Are you a proud veteran that has served our great country? Yeah. Remember, DC needs to hear you. Would you do it all again? Yeah. Yep, me too. My senses tell me that you will continue to defend our freedoms and our liberty. Am I right? Yeah. 2015, I took off the cloth of an active duty United States Marine. But I assure you that the Eagle Globe and Anchor is still tattooed on my soul. I'm just as gritty, and my mind and my body are still able to apply a proper ass kicking to anyone who's looking for one. I know you too are ready to deliver an ass kicking when required. Am I right? We are still defenders of our Constitution, aren't we? Every single morning, I spring to my feet at 04:30. I work out. I fight twice a week with my MMA group. I'm 60 years old, and I'm still kicking 30 and 40-year-old guys' ass. I read, I think, I study, and then I start my day, and that's all before 8 o'clock in the morning. This is my uncompromising basic daily routine. It is my mindset that has been applied over the last 43 years. It's what was instilled in me by my recruiters, my drill instructors, and my mentors along the way. I live by many axioms, but there are two that jump out to the forefront of me when it comes to being whole in mind, in body, and in spirit. And the first one is, the nature of man is always the same. It's their habits that separate them. And the second one is, rely not on the likelihood that the enemy is not coming, but on my readiness to receive them. I will not be caught ill-prepared with a deer in the headlights stare. History reminds us that our military must be the most ready when and where our nation's leaders are least ready or prepared. Yep. You've seen it. You need not look very far. The past 8 decades and the tens of thousands of attacks on our way of life and those of our global partners are the grim example. Over the past couple of years, I've read, I've watched, I've witnessed, I've been paying attention to the news stories and the events of the challenges of our largest military branches of service to make their recruitment missions. Recruiting across the services is and always will be a Herculean task. It is a task of the greatest magnitude. And it doesn't matter which branch of service it is. Recruiting is tough. It is the most demanding duty outside of combat that there is. And I can speak of firsthand knowledge. I was a recruiting station sergeant major in Cleveland, Ohio. During the global war on terror's wartime buildup from 2002 through 2004, I came from a fighting rifle battalion, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines. I went to Cleveland with 21 years of service. I brought my experience, my drive, my passion, my love of God, country, and Corps. I brought that to the streets and the families of Cleveland, Zanesville, Mentor, Parma Heights, Medina, Strongsville, Ohio, all the way down to Wheeling, West Virginia, and all the way east over to Erie, Pennsylvania. Every day, every month was a knife fight in a phone booth to make a mission. But we did it. What's changed? I have my fact-based thoughts and my educated opinions, not for this stage, however, but buy me a whiskey later and I'm going to tell you to hold on to your frickin' seats. When I was a poolie, just like you were all poolies, inductees at one time, back in 1980, we had poolie functions every other Saturday with our recruiter, and that was in preparation of getting us ready for the rigors of recruit training. You see, my recruiter, Gunnery Sergeant Ron Swan, he liked to eat crayons too, just like me. We liked the purple ones because they taste like grape. We had to take off our shoes when we wanted to count to 21. That's because I have 6 toes on 1 foot. But he said his office, his recruiting station, substation in Niagara Falls, New York, was always packed. And we asked him why he did so many poolie functions. And he says, well, to keep you guys ready, to get you all prepared to go to recruit training. And I remember him talking to us. He goes, there's a secret to these functions. And he goes, they're the 3 F's. He said, it's got to be fun, it's got to be physical, and it's got to be informative. The 3 F's. We don't spell well either. But what was interesting is once a month, all the recruiters in the one big station that was there, the Army, Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, all of us, we would do a collective field meet, compete against one another. And you would do the typical things, you'd be running things, pull-ups, crunches, sit-ups, tug-of-war, play a football game, play a baseball game, something. Made it fun. There was physical. But the thing that struck me, and it didn't dawn on me until later on in my young Marine Corps life, the informative piece. After every Poolie function, you would look, for those of you from New York, upstate New York, Pine Avenue, Hyde Park, and Niagara Falls, New York, there was always over by the picnic area. The tables were already set up in a big giant square, and they surrounded the barbecue pits. And over there working the pits was the American Legion, was the VFW, was the Marine Corps League. I believe it was the John Bobo Detachment in Niagara Falls. We would go over there and we'd eat our hamburgers, we'd eat our hot dogs afterwards, and we'd get a drink out of the cooler. And then the 10 to 12 veteran service, military service organization gentlemen, women would come over, and they would talk to us, and they would prepare us cognitively for the challenges we were about to embark on for the rest of our lives. And in one of those Poolie functions, I met my girlfriend's grandfather. Had no idea who he was until he started talking. He went to Iwo Jima. He survived Iwo Jima. But when he got up to talk to us, he didn't talk about his exploits on Iwo Jima. He talked about the brotherhood and the fact that 35 years later, from 1945 to 1980, he was still in contact with every member that survived Iwo Jima. And he talked about it's a bond that will last forever. And that's what you're about to take on. And on their shoulders we stand today. So if you fast forward 21 years from that moment, in 1980, me as a young Poolie before going to boot camp, I'm now the Sergeant Major of Recruiting Station Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm doing my turnover with the Sergeant Major that's about to retire. As he drove me around the 17,000 square miles of area of responsibility, showing me the 11 recruiting substations, the 6 permanent contact stations, the 315 high schools, and the regular male non-prior service population for those who were 17 to 24 was 1.3 million. You never forget your mission. Now go make mission. But I was focused on the things he did not tell me. Like, for example, Cleveland was 6th out of 8 stations in the district. If you had that kind of record and you played ball, you'd be fired as a coach. And then I found out that Cleveland was 30th out of 56 stations nationally. That's not even 500%. And I thought to myself as we were moving around, Gunnery Sergeant Ron Swan, when I was a Poolie, his office was always filled. Why was that? I immediately, after taking the mantle, I went and visited all of our veteran service organizations, all of our military service organizations, all of our community influencers. And before my first year had ended, we were first in the district and we were first in the nation. Now, this is not a coincidence. I did not do that. My recruiters are good, but it was those community influencers. It was the community involvement. It is you, the get-it-done-ers. After World War I, our veterans came home to a society that was unprepared for the care of our combat casualties. The wounded were lodged in poorhouses, jail cells, and asylums. The American Legion took on a fight by creating legislation that provided compensation and built veterans' hospitals. And that was the founding of today's Department of Veteran Affairs. After World War II, and you all know this, the American Legion created the GI Bill of Rights that changed the nation forever. Higher education, better jobs, the ability to move into the home of our dreams. These efforts created the middle class of America. After Vietnam, the American Legion demanded Congress account for all POWs and fund research to study post-traumatic stress disorders, and demanded the federal government to conduct studies on the effects of Agent Orange. And today, Be the One mission. I don't call it a campaign personally, because this is a mission. The Be the One mission is absolutely making a difference. I get not less than 12 to 15 pings a month. When critical issues face veterans and military families, America's must not fail issues, the American Legion doesn't sit back and admire the clusterfuck. You get at it. That's okay, you can clap to that, it's okay. People have heard that word before. Don't be offended, there's no delicate flowers in here. You don't sit around and admire the problem, you get at it. We still have a duty to ensure that our grand republic thrives. And the strength of our military is an imperative. We all have a unique set of skills and resources, a real and substantive connection to our communities. We are the community influencers. We are the problem solvers. We are the get-it-done-ers. I recently learned about the vote, or the Vet to Vote campaign. And the impressive results yielded in just a 3 or 4 month period. We were 130,000 election poll workers short across the United States, and a robust group of veterans filled over 65,000 vacancies in a 3 to 4 month period. What if the Legionnaire family aggressively applied their unique skill set and to our nation's military recruiters, our military recruiting effort, like my recruiter did over 40 years ago? I remember once reading in a book, you want a new idea, read an old book. Recruiting our next generation, like all of our wonderful Spirit recipients earlier today, they're the future. What do you think we could, what we would achieve? I love my country. Serving her has been the greatest privilege that I've ever had. The rest of the world wishes that they could have the less than 1% of those who wear our cloth. Our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, our guardians are in all 6 geographical combat and commanders' areas of responsibility doing the heavy lifting for this nation. They are forward deployed, forward engaged, shaping, training, deterring aggression, supporting, assisting, and enabling our partners and our own citizens. They're responding to every crisis, conflict, and contingency around the world. They are doing it all. From the Pacific Rim and the South China Sea, to the Baltic region, to the Middle East, to the Straits of Malacca, or along our own borders, combating human trafficking and the drug war, to providing relief efforts to those who have been affected by hurricanes, tornadoes, and fires that have scorched our own backyard. They live hard, they train hard, they fight hard, and they provide a capability to contain a crisis, to fill a gap, or to hold a line. They don't know when or where or who they're going to have to fight or help next, but they have to be ready to leave tonight. And you know, like you, they intuitively know the joy and sense of purpose that only comes through great challenges and subordination to a calling greater than self. They know what it means to keep company with the finest men and women in the world under the toughest conditions, and they are living their lives right and to the fullest. And that motivation that binds us is our respect for and our commitment to those who have chosen to put their lives before others. And it's upon whose young shoulders freedom, liberty, America's ideals ultimately rests. I've said it before, I've sat and I have stood with presidents, other world leaders, members of Congress, cabinet secretaries, impressive in their own rights and accomplishments, don't get me wrong, but none have impressed me more than the young man or woman who subordinates their needs for others, putting it all out there and leaving it all on the battlefield. Also known as the less than 1%, who are our warrior defenders. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and found that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. A must-not-fail mission for this nation is the physical strength of our military. Can this be our next get-it-done mission for our nation? I am done with my words. God bless you. Long may we endure. Always faithful. Let's bring somebody to the frickin' recruiter's office.